Nearly 3 in 5 people in Singapore say that they've encountered some form of harm in cyberspace or know someone who has. Non-profit organisation SG Her Empowerment conducted a survey of more than 1,000 people on online harms. Now, the 3 most common kinds of digital harms, 14% experienced sexual harassment, 12% had been cyberbullied, and 11% had their identity stolen. There was a gender difference as well. Women are almost twice as likely to be sexually harassed online. Men are more concerned about being defamed or cancelled. Among survivors of online harms, 2 in 5 were severely impacted. They feared for their safety or suffered physical or mental health issues. But 1 in 5 said that they did not feel affected, as it was a normal part of life. One of the researchers says that this suggests users are becoming desensitized to such harms. And he tells us how normalizing online harassment can lead to less understanding in society.
It creates an atmosphere of fear and distrust online. For instance, when we hesitate to discuss sensitive issues like race, religion, sexuality, or even immigration online, because of the fear of facing online harassment, it really limits the spaces available for meaningful public discourse.
1 in 2 victims reported their experience to the police or platform. Those who didn't, they felt that they had experienced it wasn't serious enough, or it would take too much effort or cost to make a report. Almost 9 in 10 wanted swift and permanent measures to remove harmful online content and to prevent more of such posts from being uploaded.
Our study researcher, Dr. Chew Han A, joins us live for more on this. He's a board member of SG Her Empowerment, an independent non-profit organisation. He's also adjunct senior research fellow at the Institute of Policy Studies. Dr. Chew, only 53%, so is just over half the number of victims reported online harm. If that's half, should we be concerned about that? Or should we imagine, well, if they themselves, as Dawn just explained, feel that, well, it costs too much, it's too much trouble, well, maybe it is too much trouble and perhaps these harms are not significant, or should more people, you feel, be reporting online harm?
I think from our work at She Cares, Singapore's first support centre for targets of online harms, the stories we hear from the survivors is that they need, they're coming to seek emotional support, and our counselling service are addressing that. The survivors also express the desire for online harms to stop immediately. And like you said, going the legal route may take too long or is too costly, based on the results of our survey as well. The survivors do want to prevent more of these posts from being uploaded. And they even want things like a permanent ban of the perpetrators from the platform. And so we built partnerships with the platforms to be their trusted flaggers or priority partners to report and flag content, so that when users need this support, we are there for them. I think survivors do want to understand their legal options. For instance, whether they can file for protection from harassment or pursue a case. Right now, there is a lack of information and awareness about these avenues for redress. So our legal clinics also provide the opportunity for them to get help from legal volunteers. And then true, it's that some clients may find the legal processes quite overwhelming, as they're already facing an online harm, such as the risk of intimate pictures being leaked or even daily harassment. And they would prefer not to repeat their stories to avoid re-traumatization. So there are these issues, attendant issues, that we need to address to encourage people to come forth and report and recognize that they have been harmed.
Dr. Chew, what I hear you say is that for those survivors, I mean, they want the bad behavior, as it were, the harassment, the bullying and so on. They want it to stop. They don't necessarily want to re-traumatize themselves, so they don't want to go down perhaps that legal route. But what non-legal routes are there, and are they effective enough?
I think the non-legal routes will be what I've shared: the counseling services, also the helping the survivors to report these cases to the platforms, so that the platforms can do something about removing the posts more swiftly. There are other things that society can do. Let's start with the users. People need to be really mindful of their reactions to online content, and we as a society need to maintain a healthy level of sensitivity to ensure a safe and more respectful online environment. So to users, we should not be too easily triggered when we see an image or rant on the internet, because we may not know the whole story. Definitely refrain from inciting negative sentiments towards views that you disagree with, because we have seen at the center how some of these actions may spiral out of control and cause real harm. So that's on the legal, on the user end. On the legal end, there is also room for stricter enforcement for anti-harassment and anti-discrimination in our digital spaces. So when swift action is carried out against individuals and groups that engage in online harassment, doxing, or threats, and these are not legal routes. These are by content moderators, community leaders. People can see that there are rules in place to keep them safe, and they will be more encouraged to speak their minds when they have a view on the issues, and also report the harms when they encounter them.
Dr. Chew, I think it's interesting you mentioned what users can do on your end. So, for example, don't be so, and I quote you, not so easily triggered. Some images, well, people will be offensive. We should take it for granted that we should be tough, resilient. We keep talking about how to build a more resilient society. This is part of resilience. So in your job, you want to support people who feel genuinely damaged and traumatized by online harms. On the other hand, you also want to encourage them, you know what, take some responsibility for your own action online. Be tough, toughen up, deal with it. How would you strike that balance?
I think we need to reset the norms for the internet. To have a refresh our. I think we should repopularize a term from the 1990s, netiquette. So internet etiquette, by starting with a simple rule: do not do or say online what you would not do or say offline. So before posting a comment, status update, or image, ask ourselves if we would feel comfortable sharing in the same thing face to face, and if not, don't post it.
How do we moderate that, though, Dr. Chew? How can that be sort of enforced? I mean, it's a good term to aspire to, I mean, to bring that term back. But the barriers online, there are none.
So yes, it's true that it's quite a challenge online, because the internet operates across multiple jurisdictions, and different countries, different territories have varying laws and regulations governing online content and behavior. So this can create challenges to prosecute individuals or entities responsible for online harms, especially when they operate from locations with laxer enforcement. It's challenging but not impossible, but it will take international cooperation and collaboration among governments, the law enforcement agencies, and also tech companies. I think effective information sharing and coordinated efforts can improve the chances of identifying and prosecuting the perpetrators.
Oh, thanks so much for joining us this evening. Dr. Chew Han A, board member of SG Her Empowerment.